With Rebellion revealed, it's time to take a look at the new support for Gear Chronicle. And this time, they got new Grade 4 Synergy cards. This is the road to Nextage.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another episode of the Road to Nextage. And in the previous episode we took a look at the new Rebellion cards and Chrono Fang Tiger of course, and see what they can do and how that could impact the new Gear Chronicle and even the old Gear Chronicle with what their playstyle would bring to the clan. And of course in the Cardfight update we analyzed their abilities and see what kind of crazy interactions they had with the already present cards in this set, as well as in the Answer of Truth support wave from last year. And right when I was making that video, we got a reveal of two new support cards for Gear Chronicle, which have a very interesting concept or synergy, as these Grade 1 and Grade 2 cards basically turn into Grade 4s onto the field, and they synergize with the amount of Grade 4s you have on the field, and their abilities will change accordingly. And this is a very interesting approach to how the upcoming Gear Chronicle deck might function, and even how this can affect future potential with Chrono Jet Dragon and Nextage, and even with the future card, as this opens up a lot of possibilities. But before we go into that part, let me first show you these new cards, what their actual skills are, and then we can speculate and see what these cards mean for the current builds with Chrono Fang Tiger, and as well what it may hold for the future. So the first of this duo is this Grade 1 Steam Sweeper Dodo, and its ability is Auto and Vanguard Circle at the beginning of your battle phase until the end of turn. Increase or decrease this unit's grade to match the grade of one of your Vanguards. So this Grade 1 can turn into a Grade 2, a Grade 3, or a Grade 4 if you're sitting at Rebellion, Mystery Flare, maybe even Nextage, or potentially Idolized Dragon. But it can also turn into Grade 3 if you're sitting at Chrono Fang and Lost Legend, depending on what your situation is. But its Grade 4 application or synergy lies in its second ability, as that is Continuous Vanguard Circle. During the battle, it boosted a Grade 4. This unit gets power plus 5k. So this can become a 13k booster if it boosts one of your Grade 4s. And that's actually pretty handy with Rebellion and even Mystery Flare, as a 13k booster on those Grade 4s makes a perfect magic number, as they are a 15k base. So this guy behind one of your Grade 4s, and in this case Rebellion is the man, then that's a 28k column. But Rebellion gives 10k to the front row, so that's a 38k column with the potential extra drive and crit from Chrono Fang, and also with the shield reduction. That can basically mean your opponent is forced to PG it, or they are probably going to take the attack, as they are going to waste a lot of shield from hand if they're trying to hard guard that attack. But this card doesn't only work with your actual Grade 4s, it also works with itself, as itself can turn into a Grade 4 during your main offensive turns. So together it can build a 21 column for free. It's not that amazing, but at least it allows it to be better than just your typical and generic Vanguard boosters which we have in other clans. Also, this can work with just placing a Rebellion or an Idolize or a Mystery Flare onto the Vanguard Circle, and this thing can boost together, making a solid 28k column. And once again with Rebellion, that's suddenly turned into a 38k column once again. But that isn't where this card's synergy stops, as we also have the Grade 2 that works pretty similar. As the Grade 2 is Team Sweeper Salgo, and its first ability is practically identical as its Auto Vanguard Circle at the beginning of your battle phase until the end of turn. Increase or decrease this unit's grade to match the grade as one of your Vanguards. And its second ability, which is pretty damn useful, is Auto Vanguard Circle. When it attacks, cost Counterblast 4 and draw a card. Yeah, you're probably now saying, what the hell is useful about Counterblast 4 for draw a card? But this cost is reduced by a Counterblast 1 for each of your Grade 4 units. So basically, during your most typical turns, when you have this thing on the field and you're a Grade 4, it is going to be reduced by 2 Counterblasts, as itself will be a Grade 4 during the attack, and you have your Vanguard Grade 4 onto your Vanguard Circle. So that's already Counterblast 4 minus 2 is Counterblast 2. But if you have another copy of Salgo onto the field, that's suddenly 1 Counterblast, and then it's a pretty damn fine skill. But not really that useful in Rebellion, as Rebellion flips everything face down the moment it attacks, and you typically want to attack with your Vanguard first, so you have the shield reduction on all your attacks. But if we have the Grade 1 as a booster, and we have 2 of these bad boys onto the field, then it's a counterblast 0. Meaning, you get to draw even more cards for 0 counterblast, so it synergizes with Rebellion, putting everything face down, and in that scenario, it becomes similar to Naboo, that it can add more cards into your hand. And this helps with the strategy that I was explaining in the previous video, where you can just build up a sizable hand even though you went into that thing, and it was a little bit tricky with only Naboo, so you had a lower chance of drawing the cards, especially with the fact that Naboo go to the soul. But now having another grade 2 that works similar to that, then the whole consistency of that strategy rises up quite significantly. And you have multiple ways of getting this, as you can have 2 of these grade 2s and 1 grade 1, but you can also have 1 of these grade 2 and 2 grade 1s. And the grade 1 is actually pretty damn useful in that scenario because it is a 30k booster. Together with this 10k body makes a 23k column. So with the 10k of Rebellion, that's a 33k column. And having the other booster behind your Vanguard, that's another 38k column onto the field with the whole shield reduction potential. And the big difference between this card and Naboo is that this thing stays onto the field. So if the game is progressing over a couple of turns, you don't have to draw into a new Naboo to get the draw off. You can keep generating more draws in each and every single turn as long as your opponent isn't removing this card. And in some cases, if they're trying to remove this, they're wasting a potential strong attack, which makes guarding for you even easier as you are sitting with a limited hand size. So if you're not up against a control clan, this is a win-win situation. So that is basically your typical application of these cards. But these cards are more than just how we can use it with Rebellion and Mystery Flare and that kind of stuff, as these cards bring an interesting concept to the table, as now we have units that can suddenly turn up their grades, and they can only do it at the beginning of the battle phase. So it's an interesting concept what this can mean for a future card design, as we already saw cards that interact with the amounts of grades in your bind zone, as the whole Mystery Flare works around that together with Idolize. So there is a potential that we can see that same concept, but then apply it to the field with the amount of grades that we have onto the field. And then suddenly these grade 2s and grade 1s will jump up in value, as then suddenly this whole thing that they can interact with itself, as currently they're only usable for themselves, as they support their own effect. But if we get more cards that works with grades, then we can see a spike in their utility, as we already have one card that synergizes really well with this, and that is Escrew Dragon. As the problem with Escrew Dragon in the past was you needed to bind something, and then you can rewind a grade lower than that from your opponent's field. But the issue was, if you rewind to grade 2, which was probably the most logical choice that you had, as you didn't run that much grade 3s, and grade 4s were you typically in your deck or just bind it away, means that you can only rewind grade 1s and 0s from your opponent's field. Now with these grade 2s and grade 1s that suddenly turn into grade 4s, means you can rewind anything from your opponent's field, as almost no clans utilizes grade 4s in a rearguard potential unless you're up against Gear Chronicle, but even they only have that during their turn. So that makes Escrew Dragon a lot better, and this can be applied to all kinds of effects that might come in this set or even with Chronojet Dragon. There's only one negative point about these cards, and it's yet once again that they don't apply very effectively with premium gears, as first off, they're not CTB, so we can write CTB off immediately, so we have Time Leap. But then there's a problem. Time Leap's most efficient and most effective ability is that they can Time Leap during the battle phase. Which means, if you use these cards, the moment you go into the battle phase, they turn into grade 4s. And that effectively makes them inoperable and useless for the whole Time Leap engine, as you cannot Time Leap towards a grade 5. We don't have that. At least Genesis, but even if Genesis want to do that, Valkyrian would immediately retire itself, so that even that doesn't work. So these cards would be rendered completely useless. They are, however, targets to hit with Time Leap when they're still in their deck, because they are grade 1s and grade 2s in deck, and then you can call them onto the field if you Time Leap grade 1 or grade 0, and they will stay that grade because you are already in your battle phase, which also makes them practically useless, as you have only one grade 4 at that moment, and that's your Stride Vanguard, so that doesn't really make them pretty much useful. So these two cards are out of the picture for premium, at least not if we get better support, so we can strive away from Time Leap with these cards, but that is not really a foreseeable future right now. But for standard, these are actually pretty damn good additions for the whole Rebellion deck, and a pretty interesting duo for any type of grade 4 focus decks. And that's probably what gears are going to be all the time, as we had the Mystery Flare build, now we have the Rebellion build, and most likely Chrono Jet, Dragon, and Nextage is the same thing. So these cards can always be beneficial for that build, as we can make our Vanguard a very strong beater without actually having to place a force marker on top of it. So we can place it on the rearguard circle, which is always a better option, especially with cards like Naboo. But also they are very solid rearguards potential, as they can give us free draws. And free draws are always good. But that's basically everything for this episode of Road to Nextage. These two Team Sweeper cards are a very interesting duo for the clan, and I'm very interested of where Bushiroad is going to take this. Is this just a one-off scenario where we have these two cards that interact with grade 4s and that's it? Or are they gonna incorporate this in more abilities like we had with a Screw Dragon that somewhat synergize actually pretty damn well with these cards? So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the abilities of these cards, but also what you think these cards might mean and can potentially be for the clan as we move forward. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely Patreons over at patreon.com/VanguardInsider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel and everything that's happening on the channel, then head over to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and become a Patreon today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!